Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into the core values that really underpin Scrum and make it like not just a process, but a mindset.
Right? We're talking about values like courage, focus, commitment, respect, and openness, correct?
Exactly. These values are crucial for any Scrum team to ensure they adhere to the empirical process theory with transparency, inspection, and adaptation at its core.
Yeah, and it's interesting how these values kind of breathe life into the everyday activities of a Scrum team.
hmm It's like the team doesn't just follow a process, they live these values. Starting with courage, it's not just about facing challenges, but having the guts to make tough decisions and even accept failures when they happen.
Yep. And that's something many teams need to embrace, especially since each sprint comes with its own set of risks and uncertainties.
Yeah, exactly. Courage means that no matter how difficult the problem might be, you step up and address it head on. It's about making decisions, taking risks, and then, if things go awry, collectively owning the outcome.
Speaking of owning outcomes, that seems to tie in neatly with commitment, right?
Right. Commitment is all about dedicating yourself, both as an individual and as a team, to achieving the sprint goal. Everyone, from the Scrum Master to the development team and the product owner,
Yep.
needs to be on the same page.
But sometimes I see teams misinterpreting commitment. They sometimes end up saying, I'll do this just because somebody senior suggested it, rather than really understanding the work ahead.
Absolutely. And that's one of the misconceptions. Commitment isn't about blindly accepting work. It's about understanding the tasks and supporting one another in meeting the sprint goals.
So it's really more intentional. You have to own what you're doing because you believe in the sprint success, not just because the boss said so.
Exactly. Now, let's slide into focus. Scrum teams need to zero in on their sprint goals without getting distracted by, say, last-minute feature requests or requests to please external stakeholders beyond what was
Mhm.
planned.
Right, because not maintaining focus can easily increase the workload and risk non completion of planned tasks.
It's like when you're trying to run a marathon. You can't just start sprinting in different directions whenever an idea pops up. You have to align your energy on the finish line.
I like that analogy, a marathon mentality instead of a sprint chase, no pun intended.
Definitely. And then we have respect. This one is fundamental. It isn't just about nodding at each other in meetings. It really means valuing each team member's skills, roles, and even their time.
That's right. I've seen cases where senior members think they're doing a favor, and then they expect, almost demand respect because of that. But respect can't be just commanded, it has to be earned and mutual.
Precisely. Respect in Scrum is about the collective effort. It's crucial that everyone, whether they're a seasoned developer or a new team member, shows up on time to daily stand-ups and fully participates in sprint planning and reviews.
And this respect extends to how the product owner interacts with stakeholders, right? Ensuring transparency and valuing the input of everyone involved.
Exactly. Which naturally leads us to openness. And by openness, we don't mean spilling every minute detail of your work. Rather, it's about being transparent with progress, any impediments, and accepting diverse viewpoints.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes there's a misconception, isn't there? Some teams think that being open means discussing everything, even when it's not necessary.
Right. And that's a subtle but important distinction. Transparency is about sharing the progress and highlighting the key challenges, not dumping a data dump on everyone. It's about meaningful, clear communication.
That reminds me, what about the common misconceptions around courage? Some think courage is just about sticking to your guns, even if it alienates the team.
Yes, exactly. That's a bit of a misinterpretation. Courage should be about challenging ideas respectfully and making collective decisions without letting ego dictate outcomes. It's like really about collaboration, not stubbornness.
Right. So it's a balanced approach where you're brave enough to suggest a different direction, but also ready to listen to the team.
Exactly. And with focus, some mistakenly believe that making customers happy means doing more than what is committed in the sprint. But that just increases the scope and risks overloading the team.
That's a critical point. In striving for customer delight, teams must ensure they don't overcommit and lose sight of their sprint goals.
On the same note, there's this misconception with commitment, where team members commit simply because someone senior said so. That strips away the genuine collective ownership that's essential.
I'm with you on that. In fact, that kind of top-down approach can stifle innovation and personal accountability.
And then the idea of respect, sometimes seen just as deference to seniority, is really contrary to the Scrum principle of collective teamwork, where every role matters equally.
Absolutely. Respect should be earned through contributions, not just assumed because of a title.
And lastly, circling back to openness, it's so important in events like daily Scrum or sprint reviews, where being honest about progress and obstacles is key. Yet, some teams sometimes mistake this for verbosity without focus.
Right, and that can lead to meetings that confuse rather than clarify.
Exactly. It's like you want to be open and transparent, but you also have to be concise and on point about what matters most.
You know, while we're on this topic, one critique I have is that some frameworks could, at times, oversimplify these values. They often assume that just stating them gets the job done, but real-world application is, a lot messier.
I totally get that. It's like saying, be courageous is easy, but implementing it in the midst of a high-pressure sprint where stakes are real, that demands a lot more nuance and support from everyone.
Exactly, and that's where leadership comes in, ensuring that these values aren't just words on a page, but are practiced daily.
Absolutely. When these values are embraced, the empirical process really comes to life. The team becomes capable of adapting, inspecting, and, continuously improving their workflow.
And that's the secret sauce behind successful Scrum teams, right? Not just rigid process adherence, but a living, breathing commitment to these principles.
Right on. It's like a cycle. Courage leads to trying new things. Focus maintains the course. Commitment ensures follow-through. Respect builds trust. And openness keeps everyone informed.
So, in a nutshell, Scrum values are much more than guidelines. They form the foundation for a robust, adaptive, and cohesive team culture.
Exactly. And understanding the misconceptions helps teams avoid pitfalls like misinterpretation and misapplication that can derail even the best intentions.
Yeah, it really emphasizes that embracing Scrum is as much about building the right culture as it is about following the defined process.
Absolutely. When teams truly embody these values, they're set up not only to meet sprint goals, but also to foster an environment of continuous improvement and innovation.
This conversation really brings out the nuances behind each value and the common pitfalls to watch out for. It's a reminder that practical application is crucial.
Right, it's all about balancing theory with practice and ensuring that everyone in the team is aligned and empowered by these values.
Exactly. A great discussion indeed. Thanks for the insights today. It's a real deep dive into not just what Scrum values are, but how to responsibly adopt them in real-world scenarios.
Definitely. And let's remember, the journey of embodying these values is continuous, much like every sprint we take. Until next time, keep questioning, keep improving, and stay resilient.
Couldn't have said it better. See you all in the next episode.